Hey, everybody, welcome to the iPhoneography podcast. I'm Greg McMillan, and I am the one out of the three of us here tonight that's been snowed in. So if I look a little tired, it's because I've been dealing with snow a couple of times today, anyway. Anyway, I will bring in Mr. Dwight Broman. If I can find how to do this. Oops. There we go. You know what? I'll bring them both in.
It's all right. It's okay.
We're all
Good
here.
evening, everyone.
Yeah.
Hey, Greg. Hey, Dave.
How's
Hey,
everyone
Dwight, how you
doing?
doing?
Good.
So let's just start here real quick with what's happening down in your neighborhood, Dwight. Just an absolutely horrible mess, and it's just really good to see that you're okay, and just let the folks know, what your situation is, maybe, and how far you are from, from danger type of thing, because um, you are just really, on the outskirts of Los Angeles, I guess you could say, and uh, you know, I've been thinking about you and worrying about you and all this stuff all this time. So can I maybe just give a little update before we get into the rest of the
Yeah.
show?
Yeah, I appreciate it, Greg. Yeah, it's been a rough week here in Southern California. I believe it was last Tuesday these fires broke out, and it's been devastating. And I couldn't sleep the first couple nights. I was trying to figure out, what can I do to have some type of an impact. I'm located in between LA and San Diego. The major fires are, 50, 60 miles north of us, but that doesn't preclude us from, getting the bad air, which is obviously, the least of anybody's concerns right now. There's mass devastation, as you've all witnessed. One of the things I really wanted to do, I started to grab, I went down to my local Home Depot, and they were ready to lend me a truck, and I was going to fill it up with stuff. And I just found out that I'd probably be contributing to the problem with traffic, bringing stuff up there. So we found some nice local donation hubs to send a lot of toiletries and that type of stuff up, and we went ahead and invested in our local Dollar Tree, and got a bunch of stuff, and brought it to our local farmers market to do our part in providing some aid. um, there's no potable water right now. I believe in both areas, and I love pets, and they've got a bunch of pets that are housed in a facility with no potable water. So our city mobilized, and the residents here put together, brought a bunch of water that was shipped up to them, and the outpouring was so great that they only had to make one journey, one trip. And yeah, so we're just now getting into another wind event starting tonight, and the fires really are only about 13 to 12% contained, somewhere around in there. And the death toll keeps rising. Unfortunately, um, they're predicting 70 to 90 mile an hour winds again this evening through Wednesday. And unfortunately, the winds are going to be a little further south where we are. So, we kind of have our head on a swivel, and I've been asking everybody to remain diligent. If you see something, say something, call 911, don't post on social media, call 911, let's help the first responders as much as we can. I've got the Cleveland National Forest just west of me. And what we've learned in this fire is that, if you're within a few miles of, something that's burning, and you have 70 to 90 mile an hour winds, um, it's not too hard to, duplicate what happened, up in the Pacific Palisades, even down here. So I'm concerned, but we're grateful to be okay. And the amount of community support that is occurring for the fire victims is nothing short of amazing. Greg, when we spoke earlier, I was kind of looking at where our viewers might be able to help. And that's a tough one. I don't know what the legitimate um, nonprofits are to donate for this. There's a lot of weird stuff going on, during these times. So I don't know who's a scam and who's not. So I would say, the listeners, if you wanna help out, maybe do your own due diligence and try to determine, what might be the best way to help. Unfortunately, in our area, we've had a few spot fires. We believe arson, a couple fires in some local parks. I think some kids think it's funny, and we've had a couple of those in the last few days that our fire department's been able to knock down. So appreciate it, guys. We just have to get through Wednesday here, according to the weather report. So fingers
Yeah,
crossed.
yeah. Well, uh, ever since this broke out, I've been kind of worried about you and everybody down there, and it's just absolutely devastating what's happened. Um, and I just keep praying that everybody's going to be okay, and what your town's done for the pets is amazing. That's really good of everybody to pitch in like that.
Yeah.
Um, so, well, I just wanted to, kind of get you to talk a little bit about that for the viewers and listeners, of the audio thing coming out later, and just to reassure that you're okay, and hopefully going forward, shouldn't be, uh, hopefully won't be an issue for you. Like you say, that you got to get past Wednesday, so it's a couple of days of a little bit of stress, and you don't need that.
Yeah, no, I don't need it. What's interesting about these winds is, when I can feel my house move. Like when the wind
It's
gets
pretty,
70, 90, if it gets up in that area, you feel your house actually move. I
yeah,
mean, it creaks and it's pretty weird.
yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Um, so, well, everybody just say some prayers for the folks in Los Angeles, and um, because I know prayer goes a long way. So, okay, well, moving on. Tonight's show topic came a couple of days ago, or was it maybe just yesterday, where Dwight sent me a link to an App Store app, and as soon as I saw it, I thought, "Ding, show topic." And what it is the app was called Film Simulator, and there's been a real attraction to these types of apps and this type of look
Mhm.
in photography in general, really, not just in iPhone photography. Um, there's tons of different apps, and we're going to talk about a few of them tonight, I guess, that give you this look. And Dwight, you said something to me about why people are maybe drawn to this look of the photos. So kind of give everybody an idea what that is.
Well, as a kid, we had the throwaway cameras and the little pocket cameras with that spinning flash that we always like to smell
Mhm.
after. Like, what is that plastic thing? And you had to get through the roll of film, and then you had to have it developed, and you didn't know what you were going to get back. So there's always kind of that anticipation and surprise. And I knew nothing about film quality or anything back then, and I struggle with it now. But it was always just kind of nice just to get that stack of photographs, and just the anticipation and the surprise when you look through them. It's almost like an album versus a CD. You get an album, and it's a nice cover, and you open it up, and there's something on the inside, and you look at the label of the album. It's a complete experience. So I think I've been involved with R&I Films from an app standpoint, and Visco, which we can talk about later, Greg. There's a lot of film emulations there. And those applications are really kind of cool for me, maybe like at the color grading stage towards the end of the edit. I'll still do my standard edit, but I'll go in there and, maybe take a look at what maybe a film emulation might do for my photograph by, like a porta, or, add some grain to it, that type of thing. And I think that it just, being able to do that from our digital phones, um, kind of softens up the image, in my opinion, kind of gets us away from that over processed look, kind of brings us back to, our childhood a little bit. And it's just, I think it's fun to experiment with, personally.
Yeah, for sure. And I have RNI films as well. And let's see, I don't know how long ago it was, but I'm a sucker. Dwight and I kind of make fun of each other because we both have a problem, and that is buying a lot of apps. uh, and but I do this. I buy these apps. I pay for them because for I don't know what 4 or 5 years now, Dave. I think you've been almost the same, or you've been a little bit longer. We've been podcasting about this stuff, and so I kind of like to be able to talk about it.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
Have the experience, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, you have to have that hands-on experience if we're talking about things.
Yeah,
And there are certain things that, especially like with the camera apps, not necessarily with the film, but like for a lot of these apps, like Howlide, they have the 7 day period where you can try it out. But we have to say, oh, this is good, this isn't good. You need that hands-on, and it is nice that this film simulation app is. And I don't know how they do it. I guess it's someone just doing it as a hobby. It's at no cost, and there's no in-app purchases, and there's no ads.
yeah, it's totally free.
Yeah. So that's a bit of a shock.
Yeah, yeah, and in these times it is, but
Yeah.
but it's a real pleasant surprise.
Yeah,
Oh,
I found that, Greg, and I think I saw something somewhere that it said it's free for now. So you may want to put
oh,
the link in the show notes, or maybe the actual app, so people can download it.
I
Yeah.
definitely will. Yeah, yeah, for sure. Um, and I've had it for a while because I found it on my phone after you mentioned it. I went to look for it in the app store and it said open. Oh yeah,
Of course, I can't have a camera app that you don't have, and vice versa.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, our phones will be cloned of each other, I think.
Yeah.
Um, so, you know, I started photography way back when I was probably 20 or so, and obviously it was film, and I had some real like diehard favorite films that I would go into the camera store and they would just pull it off the shelf and have it ready for me because um, Kodak Ektar 25 actually was the film speed. It was the sharpest film that I ever saw. Like it was super sharp. It was like going from a 12 megapixel sensor to a 48. Like it was that sharp. It was so cool. But the low ISO, number on it, it really, uh, it really needed a lot of light. So it was great for,
Mm.
bright sunny days and that sort of
Mm-hmm.
thing. My other favorite film, I had a couple more. One was Kodak Gold 200
Hmm.
or 100 or whatever. Sometimes I would get different film speeds, but I really liked the Gold, Kodak Gold, and Fuji Reala. I really liked it because it was great for landscapes because it had like an extra layer of green in the emulsion, so the trees and grass, anything that was green would really show good. Um, that's what I really liked about that film. And uh, and Fuji, they've really gone heavy with the film sim stuff
Mm-hmm.
because they build it right into their cameras.
Yeah.
Mark Sadowski, he's a friend of the show. Uh, he talks about it every time in his podcast, which is Fuji Love, by the way. Um, and give it a listen. Even if
Yeah.
you're if you're just an iPhone photographer, it's a good podcast because the people that he interviews have really interesting stories, and a lot of this stuff can be applied to what we do. But it's, so film simulations, I can't believe we haven't talked about this before, Dave. You
Well,
know,
I mean, if you think about it, film simulations are basically filters that are made to because Instagram has had filters since the beginning. That's mainly because the camera was crappy,
yeah,
but they had weird names for it. Tokyo, London, Istanbul, or however they named it. So it's just a matter of now someone saying, "I'm going to make a filter that tweaks it so it looks like this old film." And one thing and this is because where I came from film, I didn't come from 35 millimeter. I came from the 110 film and the disc cameras. So you basically with the 110, you got it was 110 film. Kids asked your grandparents about it,
yeah,
and you basically just selected a speed. So there wasn't like different types of film like you would have for 35 millimeter, and the disc camera, which literally came in a disc, a round disc that just kind of rotated. That was really a point and shoot. You had very little control over anything. That same thing. You didn't really say this film versus this emulsion versus this. It was pretty standard for what it had. It was kind of standard neutral, for lack of a better term. So
mhm,
I'm looking at the app here for the film simulation, and the only thing I wish it would have is a little, either a bigger or a better thumbprint, so you could see exactly what the changes, or some kind of description of what the film is for someone who's not familiar with it. You know, like you said, this one's brighter green tones. This one's more of an orangey overfeel, sharper, not as sharp. Something that describes it a little bit. So you could say, well, what kind of feel? Because that app and a lot of the apps are you take the photo and then it post processes it. Then you want to say, okay, well, what do I want? What feel do I want on this? And I'm very glad that this app and other apps have lots of different possibilities available.
mhm.
But if you don't already know what, this film versus that film is, it can kind of get overwhelming and kind of daunting on knowing what direction you want to go.
Yeah, yeah. There's a gazillion choices in this film simulator app, and even in like in RNI films and
Hmm.
some of these other ones. There's plenty of choices that you have, um, and I just got to cut to this real quick. Uh, Greg looks younger. Have you had a haircut? Will Newcomb, thank you, Will. Thank you. Truth be told, Will, I've left one light off in my room here, and it's a little darker, so that's probably why I look a little better. But there's plenty of choices, especially in this film simulator app. And you're right. The thumbnail, it's a small thumbnail with just a picture of a cat's face, and
Hmm.
so many of them look so similar. It's hard to you know find a good one. But once you do, though, there's a little heart there. You can just click on the heart or tap on the heart and save it. Right, save it as a favorite. So that makes it easier. Uh, Dwight, have you ever? I guess you really, because you started photography with an iPhone. I guess you never really had a film camera, did you?
No, I never did, but I just inherited one, an old Pentax Asahi Spotmatic, and I loaded some film into it, and it's black and white, and I'm learning how to shoot, and I'm just going to give it a try. So yeah, I've never really had an SLR, if you would. So
Yeah. Uh, so I said I started when I was around 20 or so. I actually started younger than that. Dave, when you mentioned 110, that just cleared out some cobwebs in my memory bank here. That I remember getting a 110 camera for Christmas when I was probably 10 or 11, 12 maybe. I'm not sure how old I was. A young teenager maybe. And I had some fun with it. I think really all I could do with that is unknowingly, because I didn't know anything about photography then, but work on composition. Um, because there's no camera settings. It's just point and click. And like you say, Dave, there's maybe different film speeds you can pick from or whatever, but 110 is 110. It was just a little cartridge. You just put it in, hit the winder thing or whatever. And Robert's your mother's brother, as Shane would say, and away you go. But when I got a film like a Canon, it was Canon EOS 650, I think it was. It was the very first EOS camera that Canon ever released, and I had a lot of fun with it. Bought a couple of lenses and stuff like that, and the thing about that, and this translates over to a modern day app that I'll mention in a second, but is once you take the shot, you're just kind of hoping and praying you got it right, because it's not like digital. You can't check it out and retake it. You got to go through a few rolls of film, I guess, to see if you're set, and hopefully remember what you said of that, because it doesn't remember. I think notebook sales were pretty high back then, and if you did it right, you would write down settings for your shot, what it was, so you could know, and compare and just learn from it that way. How the professionals managed to just go out there with a roll of film, take pictures, and bang, come up with a portfolio pieces, I don't know. But in today's world, in iPhone photography, mood camera is a great example of what it was like to shoot film, because you don't get to see the preview before you shot. And Alex Fox, who is the developer, I'm actually going to interview him coming up here in a couple of weeks. He said that he wants it to be like a film experience where you can't tell what the shot is before you take it. You have to wait and see what it's like after you take it. But it has a lot of different films built into it too, where you can select a film, and then you can select the film speed. So then that's going to determine how much grain you have. And then you can have it so that it's like got a faded look, a dynamic. There's 5, I think, different contrast, I guess you could say, settings for each one. So it's pretty versatile, and it actually comes out with some pretty interesting things. So there's all these different apps that do film sims. Now, Dave, did you say that Camera Plus had some stuff built into it too? You're muted. Can't hear you.
Sorry,
There you
it does have filters, but the way they call their filters are like pinhole camera, vintage tail fins for like a 1950s camera. So it doesn't really go a film simulation, but it gives you a mood of a camera of a certain time. So you still have that. If you want to have that feel of film, it can give you that kind of film. Also, it has a pinhole or depth of field. They actually have two different ones, even though they're kind of similar. So it gives you. It still can give you that feeling that you're using a film camera instead of a digital camera.
Okay, that's cool. Dwight, have you used that film simulator very much, or are you pretty new to it?
No, I've been using Visco for a long time, and way back when, a few years ago, I was buying the individual packs, and then they went to a subscription model. But what was challenging for me was, there was the films like the A1 through A8, and then the B1s through B10, and then there was a bunch of films, and it was kind of tricky for me to go through each one and decide which one was best for my shot. But in the recent year or two, they've come out with these pro, what do you call it, emulations that,
Mhm.
and also it'll analyze your image and it'll suggest certain ones for you. So I kind of use that as a starting place. And then if you select one of them and then you select it again, it'll bring up kind of a menu of, what it is, the history of it, what it's best for, daylight, landscape, that type of stuff. And for me, that's helped out a lot. And the actual raw editor within Visco is arguably very close to as being as good as Lightroom, and some people think that it may even be better at recovering, shadows and highlights and stuff like that. Greg, I'll try to find you that link on that study, but yeah, I mean, I've used Visco for a while, and I kind of went to the pro section where I have access to the Visco Studio, and with that you can develop a site and collaboration and that type of stuff. So I'm kind of looking into that. But I'll just quickly note that I also I really like FIMO, Frank India Mary Oscar, old roll, and I think there's old rolls. I'm having a lot of fun with that. And then there's another one, I think 1987 cam or something like that. But there's a few of them out there that are just kind of fun to play around with.
Yeah. And just, as a treat for the YouTube viewers, Dwight's going to do an edit on in Visco on the desktop that we're going to broadcast on this show, but we're going to do it at the end. So we're basically going to sign off for the audio part, and then we're just going to carry on. So stick around, and Dwight's going to show us how the edit works in Visco, and I think it's going to be very interesting. And so Dale in the chat has a very interesting question. But can film cameras shoot 30 seconds? I couldn't even get it out without laughing.
I've seen that question before.
Can they do 30 seconds? Let me think. Yeah, I think they can.
Dale is sure doing 30 seconds down under where he is.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And, you could probably use, I don't know, Dale, while you're there, I'm going to ask you this. Can we use Lumilapse with a third-party app, like say Mood Camera or something like that, and shoot, can you shoot a shot every 32 or so seconds with a third-party app like that, or does it have to be the Apple camera? Inquiring minds want to know. But anyway, so Dave, you sent some screenshots.
Yeah.
That I think we'll have a look at here. And, sure, I had it shared, now I stopped it.
Nope.
You were trying out some of these, film sim things. There it is there.
Oh, there we go.
And so it's kind of give us an idea of
Sure.
what you're doing, and let me know when to go to the next picture.
Well, if you could zoom out a little bit.
Well, I cut that part off
okay.
because I wanted to make it as big as possible for the podcast player.
Hey,
Okay.
Dave, is this mile 20 out of 35?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
In
this
the
was
snow?
in the snow. Yeah. This was mile 3.5 or so out of 5.
All right.
But the big hill was yet to come. So yeah, believe I'm gonna make sure. I'm trying to. Is this the one that was the original one, Greg?
I think so.
Okay, because
See, the reason I trimmed them off. Yeah, I believe that is the original.
Okay.
I just trimmed them off because all it had was EXIF data, and it even showed your location, so I didn't want to have that on.
Okay.
But any captions that you typed in are on the ones that have them.
Okay. Yeah, because the one that is, well, the thing is, I didn't add a caption. It was the EXIF data that had the different camera I use for the filters. So
I see.
Yeah, so that's okay. Yeah, so this I think this is the one that I just did a straight edit in. So this is just the plain non-edited. Well, I should say I did edit it in just in the Photos app.
Okay.
So this is unfiltered, extra processed. So this is kind of the baseline, if you will.
So you used like a photographic style and
Yeah.
then just kind of played around with it a bit?
It was just actually the standard style, but I just boosted the colors a little bit to make the if you notice, there's a little bit of red on the boathouse to the left. There's umbrellas where when it's warmer you can sit outside
Right.
and eat at a restaurant. Obviously when the lake's frozen over they don't have that open, but
Yeah, and the bushes picked up a little bit on that red too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
okay, if you want to go to the next one.
Okay.
Okay. That one I did with R&I films. Oh, I can
Yes.
see it down there. Okay, yeah. It actually did keep that. So yeah, this was with R&I films, and to give it a kind of an overboost, if you will, just to give it a different feel for it. But this kind of overboosted the colors. It also, for me, gave it a little bit of a retro look. If you think of sometimes some of the old film you see where it's kind of overboosted the colors and a
Yeah.
little fuzzy, so it made it a little fuzzier, so you can just see kind of the difference between the different film sims and availability that you have.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting how it just totally changes the dynamics of the image. You know, like the first image looked a little cooler, not just in like color temperature, but it made you feel like it was colder out. Whereas this kind of warms everything up, as far as even the look and feel of the photo. So
Yeah, and it changes the way the black top looks and reflects a little bit too.
yeah, for sure. So then this one you did, you've got Camera Plus on there now.
Yeah. So I took
So
the
you-
previous image from
Yeah.
R&I, imported
Okay.
in the Camera Plus in their Lightroom section, and added
Yeah.
a couple of filters.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's
So-
got that light leak in the corner there, which is interesting.
Exactly. Yep. You got the light leak. You got the kind of torn border going around it, and it kind of again even more fuzzy, if you will. You don't have as much detail, especially like if you zoom in, like where the boathouse is up there.
Well, it looks like it was taken 50 years ago, right?
Exactly. So
And that's the appeal, right? That's
Yeah.
the appeal to me. Yeah.
Yeah.
because you actually, like I said, their filters are not named after specific films, but it's like I said, they actually have one called light fins or tail fins,
Oh, yeah.
fins. So you're thinking like 1950s cars,
Yeah.
and and some that definitely like 70s feel and things like that. So it's almost of the general camera of the day instead of one particular film.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really cool.
Okay, this one was with the film simulation app using one of their black and white filters.
Okay.
Now, again, just kind of gives you a much starker feel to the image.
Yeah. Yeah. There seems to be a little more contrast in it.
But like you said, it does a little bit more than just hitting black and white in the Photos app.
Yeah.
Even though if you have a 16, you can do photographic styles. The new one, they're a lot better than the older ones. But still, there's something with the extra film simulation that you don't have otherwise.
Yeah. Yeah. That's cool.
And this last one was also with I'm trying to think of my brain kind of flopping around here. The film simulator app with one of their I forget which one this was. I want to say it's probably one of the Kodak ones.
Yeah.
That kind of gives it that again. It gives you that kind of retro film feel to it.
Yeah.
So this is not as like it's not quite. It has a different feel from the R&I. It's similar, but it's not. It gives you just a little bit of a difference there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's deeper in the blacks here, and a little more color, I think, in the colors.
Yeah, and,
Yeah.
and
So
honest,
go ahead, Dave.
well, I say this is one thing where like I said about earlier about it would give a text description of what it does. If you would say something like, over processed colors, heavy on the oranges and the reds, and dark blacks.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to say, Dwight, it's a refreshing change from what we see just out of the iPhone camera as is, isn't it?
Oh, I agree. Yeah, I mean, that, there's an allure to actually thinking about going back to film photography, but if you can pull it off here, we have instant development, and
Yeah.
this is nice. And I haven't looked at the app yet too closely, Greg, but can you control the opacity of the actual film, so you don't have to have it at 100% strength? You can kind of work with it.
That's a good question, because
I,
like you,
I'm opening up now.
I haven't had a
Okay.
close look at it.
Because sometimes you may want just a
And
little, 50% of it or something like that.
Yeah, I know with RNI you can do that.
Now, what I want to do is I want to try the Moment Cinebloom diffusion filters with some of these film
Right.
apps. I think that'd be
Yeah.
kind of fun.
no, you cannot.
Okay.
It's an all or none.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. The only option I see in the settings is image quality for the export.
Yeah.
You can.
It's
snap it up.
a very simple, and it actually takes a little bit to know what all the icons do.
Yeah.
There's three icons down there, and the middle one is the picture of a photo with an arrow, and that's basically
In the bottom
revert.
left corner.
That's a
Yeah.
revert. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
that's a revert button.
Yeah.
But
Oh, okay.
there's nothing that really spells it out until you try it to let you know it is a revert button.
Right. And then the other one in the very to the left of that is just start over again with a new picture, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, I'll dig into that a little bit.
And in the top right hand corner, there's a preview button in the shape of an eyeball. You can tap that to turn the effect on and off. Just to compare, right?
To do like an A/B thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. Um, and again, this is just one of the many apps that can do this sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, yeah, there's some that are more, um, uh, have more features and whatnot than others, but
I'll
you
tell
know,
you
it's
a fun app for me, and it can actually be very addicting. Is called Hipstamatic.
oh yes, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
how could I forget that one? That is probably one of the most popular ones, really.
Yeah, and there's quite a community on that. Excuse me, I have to cough just a second here. I have a buddy of mine that's kind of into art, and Mike, and I said, Mike, you've got to try this Hipstamatic thing out. And he did not want to touch it for a year, but now he's the top poster in the Hipstamatic group. He's doing all the art, the double exposures, the double bake, where you come up with a film, flash, and lens, and then you can actually do something else on top of that, and it's super fun. So I obviously had to get all of the films, flashes, and lenses, and
Yeah.
there's quite a community there of some very talented photographers. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah. So pursuant to Dale's query about the 30-second thing, Dwight, you responded with Dale, or your response take 30 seconds from now or longer? But Dale's actual response is you could use Lumilapse with reheld, but not in even longer. But it has a built-in intervalometer anyway, and you cannot do it in re-expose. So that's interesting. I didn't know what apps you could use Lumilapse with other than the native camera app. So it's nice to see that you can use it in reheld. Now reheld, it's not designed to be used at night so much. Where you can use it at night and you can make some interesting things with it if you've got enough light where it can lock onto its something solid in the frame. That's how it works. It locks onto something solid in the frame, and then just does everything after that. But uh, obviously in the daytime, reheld really could shine, and you can do some kind of cool things with it. I have no idea what I would do with it, but and I hate to say it, but since I've got my Lumilapse, I haven't had a chance to use it. We've been if it's a clear night, it's like -20 or whatever, and I'm not leaving my phone out that long in a night
Yeah.
that cold. I hate to say it, but I might be stuck wait until spring.
Well, you could have a warm snap now and then.
Oh well, yeah. This is Canada, though, Dave.
Warmish, warmish
Yeah, you
Yeah,
snap.
can come down to visit
yeah,
me, Greg.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I've been to a few states in my time. Furthest south I've been, I think, is Missouri, and at
Oh,
the
okay.
at the lower part of Missouri. Oh no, that's not right. When I was about 4 years old, my parents took us to Florida,
Hmm.
Oh,
so we went down to
that's
Tampa,
around. Yeah,
Florida.
about to say that's around far south as you can get.
Yeah, yeah. And I really don't remember a whole lot about it, but I do remember, a couple of things. Visiting my grandparents, that was the highlight of the whole thing. But anyway,
Yeah,
um,
while we're talking about these film apps, just real quick, even like the Mood app, Greg, when we first started taking a look at it,
yeah,
I'm really interested in the different recipe and the use cases and stuff, right? What's best for sunset? And I got a few of those off the Reddit. On Reddit, they have a mood camera subreddit, and I was
Hmm.
looking at a lot of what everybody was using. And one of the big questions there is, what's the best film and speed and all of that for this type of situation. So I put that together, Greg, and I think I sent that to you. So if anybody's interested in that, I can share that on the Visco, on the Hipstamatic side. You can go in depth online and find out all the different recipes of how much opacity of a lens, how much opacity of a film or a particular flash, and you can save that preset, and then you can it's infinity and beyond. I mean, it's crazy. So in my Hipstamatic, I've got a bunch of custom ones that I've set up, and so I guess my point here is I'm really interested in, doing the research and finding and uh, journaling, ways of getting different looks and stuff like that. So
yeah, cool. Um, well, I can't think of much else I can say myself about film sim stuff. I should have got Mark Sadowski to come on because he uses it a lot in the Fuji stuff, and I don't
Hmm.
know how much he uses it in the iPhone stuff.
I don't know
But
how much he shoots an iPhone anymore, to be honest.
yeah, yeah,
I mean,
that's
because
true.
he did. I think he uses it still a little bit for. Well, when I listened to him on the podcast, even his. I don't want to say even his photography because he is a photographer for weddings.
Yeah.
But even his wedding photography, it sounds like he's using more the Fuji. With like again, he sets up the film sim. He
Hmm.
knows what he likes, and he just shoots it and it comes out in JPEG,
Yeah.
and it
Yeah.
has that feel and that look that he likes.
yeah, they can't keep
And
that new Fuji camera, the XV100 or whatever that thing is. They cannot keep those in
oh no,
stock.
yeah, that
Yeah,
it's going crazy
yeah,
how
Yeah.
popular it is.
Yeah. The XV, or what is it, the
Yeah,
106, the version 6
version
yeah,
6, yeah.
is a real hot commodity. People were waiting weeks and weeks, if not months, to get it.
yeah.
And now I think the 7 is already, they're already talking about it. So, um, cool little cameras. And if I ever was to buy a traditional camera again, I would probably go with Fujifilm.
Hmm.
Just because of the versatility that it has, and the film sim stuff would be fun to play with.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
so, all right, well, again, everybody that's watching live, stick around to the end, or if you're watching this after the fact on YouTube, stick around to the end because Dwight's going to do a desktop edit in Visco uh, with the film simulation. So just to kind of give you an idea of how it works and whatnot. But right now, we're going to move on to our recent photos. And I have, here we are. I have Dave, I have you set up to go first.
Okay,
Now, it's not the blue caddy,
no, it
but
is
I
not.
really do like
No,
it. I really do like
yeah.
it.
So this is part. I don't know if it's it.
Oh, and just before we go
Oh,
on,
sure.
Dave, sorry,
Yep.
I got to do this before we start.
Oh,
If you're listening to the podcast, look at your screen. If you're using Apple Podcasts or Overcast or any of these major podcast players, you'll be able to see the image. Sorry, Spotify listeners, it doesn't work on Spotify. can't help you there. But most of our listeners statistically are using the Apple Podcast app. So you can check it out on your phone. It works in CarPlay, but don't stare at the screen while you're
Yeah, please don't look at CarPlay while driving,
driving. Right. Okay. All right, Dave, carry on.
Okay, so
like I
this
do.
was so this was actually literally down the street, and this is parked outside a business, and the car's there a lot. So I'm assuming it's maybe the owner's car or I don't know what, because you wouldn't store it's a 62 Imperial Chrysler. I don't even know Chrysler. I think it was just 62 Imperial. Before Chrysler brought it underneath the umbrella again. And for something that's 60 years old, 62, 63, however old it is,
Yeah.
you wouldn't leave it outside in the elements. So
No.
I don't know, and it's in good shape. And I was just driving home one day after running down the store, and I just looked. It's like 8 o'clock at night, and it was like the way the snow was just laying on it, and the snow around it, but it still had enough clear. You could see the color of the car. I just loved the look of it. And what I did is there was a car parked as you're looking at it to the left, directly to the left, that I use cleanup to get rid of. You can kind of tell if you look at the snow to the left, there's this weird kind of almost like an interference pattern in the snow. That's where it kind of made the snow up, where there was a car in front.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and I boosted the blue wall behind it a little bit and the red wall just to the left to kind of give that almost a glow, almost like a neon glow. So I boosted the color there. But it just coming by, it was like, first of all, we don't see a lot of these old cars around here. They don't make it. They don't survive in the snow and the salt and, the changes in temperature and everything. And not every house around here has a garage even. So a lot of these old cars just didn't survive. So it's just really neat to see this old car out there. And like I said, just the way the snow kind of just lays on it. I just like the look of it. And you can see the snow being lit with the street light also.
Yeah, I think this is a great photo for a few reasons. So if I'm doing an art contest, I think this kind of qualifies with what you've done with the background and the side of it there. To me, it's like it would be a happy accident for me if you're just trying to, manipulate a photo. But there's an artistic element to this, and there is a retro look to this as well. It just doesn't seem overly sharpened. I love the contrast between the lights and darks, and how the wall ties into the car, and the around the white wall there. Yeah, there's a lot going on here. I like the warm tones coming into the cooler tones of the blue. Yeah, that's a good photo. I like it.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, the way the tones, the warm tones and the cool tones, it's such a harsh mix that works so well. And I'm going to guess you used a photographic style on this.
I use a photographic style. I also use Lightroom
Okay.
because I wanted to work on the blue individually. So
Yeah.
you can
Okay.
so like in Lightroom or Photomator, I like Lightrooms a little bit more. You can say, okay, this blue, just touch the blue.
Yeah.
Don't touch anything else, and touch this
Yeah.
and touch this.
Yeah. And the texture of the snow really shows through too.
Yeah.
It almost looks like it went through a snowblower and landed on the car. you know.
It has almost like a popcorn ceiling feel to it.
Yeah. 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 Exactly. So yeah, that's a
cool.
great shot.
Yeah, thanks.
And Dwight, if you haven't seen the blue caddy, we'll have to get we'll put it in our shared photos, and it's maybe it's in there. I don't know, but it's my favorite picture that Dave's ever taken.
Yeah,
I
I'd like to see
sometimes
it.
have it on my wallpaper on my computer.
Oh, wow. Cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So next we have yours, Dwight.
Okay, so tonight I'm still going to showcase the reheld 240 millimeter telephoto. I was way back. There is no way you would even be able to tell what these two elements were, objects or subjects in the photo were from back from where I was standing. I caught the poodle kind of looked like he or she is ready to either get in the water or get away from the wave. And I liked how the owner was just kind of staring off into the distance. I caught the poodle down in the lower right third, and I'm just showcasing the telephoto lens here. I'm still kind of blown away by this. This is Heisler Park in Laguna Beach again.
Yeah, that it honestly just the joy on the dog. You can actually, even though if you go into the dog, it does get a little blurry, but you're zooming of a zoom. You can see the joy in the dog's face.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and I didn't denoise this at all. I left
Yeah.
the grain in, and it was a raw photo. So yeah, I wanted to keep some of the detail in there.
Yeah, and like I said, just how it really does show off the zoom, like you said. The fact that, and it's not the artificially, extra zoomed in, and we're gonna fix all the things and make it look like you have a super zoom camera.
Right.
It doesn't have that artificial look to it. It literally, of course, I like anything with dogs in it.
Sure.
So I mean, it makes it better. Anything with dogs make it better. And we have a white poodle at home,
All
so
right.
but much smaller.
Yeah.
He'd probably be scared of the water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Just the colors and everything else. Like, so Dwight, you didn't really do a lot to this image. Is that right? Like, as far as like working on the color and whatnot, or?
No, I worked through my process. I worked through my raw editing flow. The green and the blue and the water wasn't really coming out, so I was able to isolate that color and bring it out a little bit in post.
Yeah.
The the cliffs, if you will, were relatively washed out. I kind of brought those back a little bit, and I did take it over into Adobe Camera Raw, which is Photoshop's equivalent to Lightroom, and added a little bit of texture into the rocks. I think I kind of painted that in a little bit on a black mask. Yeah, but not too much, Greg.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it does look good. And again, I can't get over the reach that this lens has. Something that you put on a phone. Phones are, and I've said this before, notorious for, basically what you get generally, like, quote unquote, by default, is like a wide angle view.
Yeah.
But being able to get in close to this, I've shot so much with the 240 lately that I can almost tell what this would look like without it. And
That's way far away.
yeah,
That's way far
yeah.
away. Yeah.
You would barely be able to see the dog and the owner standing there. Really, when you get right down to it.
Yeah.
So the reach is amazing.
Yeah.
And the guys from Reflex, when they were at CES, so they took in a Las Vegas Knights hockey game, NHL game, and they put a reel up. It's probably still there as we record. If you go to their, it's probably on their Instagram profile. Well, I can say a reel would stay. A story leaves after 24 hours. So you can go to their Instagram profile, look on their reels, and you'll probably see it. And it shows, I think it's Josh is doing the filming of the game, and you get it. It really brings up the players. And I mean, even from the other side of the ice, it looked like they had pretty decent seats, but still, I shot a buddy of mine. His son was playing a hockey game, and I took some pictures and videos with my 12 Pro Max with the Reflex 2x telephoto, the old version, not the G series, and I just couldn't bring it in. It was obviously better than the main camera was, but I just couldn't get close enough. And I even put it on the telephoto, which was a 3x telephoto, and it still wasn't great. And that back then, those lenses weren't really designed for the telephoto, so it was kind of, it wasn't very clear. But if you put this 240 millimeter on the 5x camera of a late model iPhone, it's going to really bring it in nice. And I couldn't get over the quality that they were getting of the hockey players. It just blew me away. But yeah, this just showcases the lens so well. So that's cool. In my first one, where is it now? There we go. I was just sitting on the couch. It was a blah day. It was snowing or whatever doing outside, and this is a ribbon plant on our windowsill on the bay window. And I thought, I'm gonna take a picture. But what the heck? So this is with the 5x or with the telephoto, and I shot it in RAW. So I processed it, dialed I denoised it a little bit, but not much. But and sharpened it maybe a little bit. But other than that, I didn't do a whole lot. Then I took it into Film Simulator and I put it was RNI Films. And I put the Kodak Gold 200 film sim on it, and this is the result. Now the raw file was really, really dark in the pot part, like in the potted part of the ceramic pot of the plant. You couldn't even see the color, so I brought the shadows back out. I think I used Photomator, but other than that, I didn't do a whole lot of editing color-wise or anything. But the Kodak Gold 200 gives it, that old kind of look. So it was just a really interesting, quick photo to take.
Yeah, definitely, and that shows where, like I said, film simulations can take a picture of an everyday thing and give it a little bit of extra to it.
Yeah, a bit of character, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because like I said, this feels more like I said, it gives you that different tone, the different shading than what you would get from just the straight camera shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean this has just vintage really all over it. I think one of the nice aspects of it is how the light pushes through that plant on the top, and that's not clipping, right, Greg? The highlights aren't clipping.
I don't believe they are. No, I
Okay.
think I dialed them down so that they weren't.
Yeah, yeah, that's I like that, and it's a good showcase of what we're talking about tonight. It's just not overly sharp, and I like it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just a good time to be an iPhone photographer.
Yeah.
So moving on to Dave, your second one here.
Yep, this was actually taken on the way to the start line. So that's kind of at the
And
start
if,
finish.
if people haven't realized yet, Dave had a race yesterday.
Yeah. So yeah, it was cold. It was cold. Start temperature was around 19 degrees Fahrenheit. So it was chilly. But I just love the way now this was done in the Photos app using photographic styles. You can kind of see the limitation where in the middle of the tree where the branches are, it doesn't exactly, it's just kind of white and it doesn't pick up too much. It has a little issue with all the branches and trying to deal with the sky behind it. But I just like the way the sun was kind of behind the lodge up there, and it was on top of the hill, so you had the orange of you had the clouds look a little interesting. It wasn't just plain gray. You had the sun right there, but it wasn't like blinding or killing the rest of the color. And the stick season, as Matt Hoffman phrased it, everywhere. But it gives you a nice look to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I was wondering what that was behind the trees, but that makes sense, Greg. So I think or Dave, I think the program is having a difficult time isolating the sky
Yeah.
through that detail. And who knows? At some point, maybe Apple or uh, whatever they end up doing with Photomator, will be incorporated into, perhaps that photographic style as to where we can isolate, different parts of the
Mm-hmm.
image and work, within that tonal range. Um, that's cool. It looks like did you use the ultra wide on this one?
Let me double check here. I think I only used the regular one to be honest.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's
Yeah,
it's nice. I
because
like.
it was a decent away.
Do you remember which style you used?
It was actually standard.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it
No.
was it was standard. It was just a little, again, a little boosting of the color and dealing with the dark and lights a little bit. And that is
Yeah.
something that's nice. Is when, yeah, this is the fusion camera. But if you use a photographic style, it'll tell you it in the EXIF data.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, the
Yeah,
recipe. Yep.
yeah. Well, yeah. It'll tell you which one you use, not, let's say,
Okay.
the detailed. Not like, well, this was moved down so much and moved to the right so much.
Okay.
But
Oh,
it'll
does it
say
give you
like
the tone
standard.
and the it doesn't give you those
It
numbers?
doesn't. No,
I
no.
thought it
Okay.
did. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. Well, at
I
least I'm
do
not seeing
know.
it here. I'm not seeing it here.
Okay. But I know you can set up your camera to where it
Oh,
will
where it can
default
default
to
by
your
that.
last
Yeah,
one. Right. Yeah.
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 Yeah. Oh, that's cool. I like that. I like the different golds and
Mm-hmm.
um, the dark contrast in the trees, and the sky ties in with the structure there, and it's cool.
Yeah. And I think if if one had absolutely nothing better to do for a while, you could probably play with these photographic styles to make them look like certain films. You know, maybe I don't know how close you could possibly get, but I'm sure you could get them to look, very filmish looking. Um, I don't know. Maybe sometime I'll have to sit down and give it a try and see what I can come up with. But I think it would be very difficult to get them, really close. But I think you can get kind of like a filmy kind of film style
Mm-hmm.
look with them. Especially with the more faded, you can adjust the tone or
Right.
whatever. But yeah, no, I like this shot. I'm assuming this was when you were doing your pre-race mile to the start line, uphill both ways.
Uphill both ways, of course. Of course.
Yeah. But yeah, and so looking at the position of the sun, one would wonder, okay, is it morning or evening? We know now it's morning,
Right.
um, but this could very well be portrayed as a sunset shot too.
Mm-hmm.
And it just kind of irks me that they couldn't handle the sky in the background there where it's
Yeah.
all white. It just that just kind of spoils it for us. But still, good shot, and the contrast between the trees and the sky is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And the fact that you can still see some blue in the sky too is kind of nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It
Yeah.
was. It wasn't completely overcast, which made it a lot easier to deal with the run too.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Okay, Dwight, your second one.
Okay, so this is back at the mission. I was there yesterday with my lens again, and I've been dying to take a picture of this thing. I could just never get close enough. And I finally got it with this lens. I mean, if I took it with, the regular telephoto lens, that thing would be about a quarter of the size of what we see here. So,
Hmm.
um, nothing spectacular about this image, other than I caught it, um, and I did edit it, through my process. It was a raw file. I had to do some burning a little bit around the lighter spots so they didn't stand out too much. But just a simple photo of the bell that I've been intrigued with. That's been there for hundreds of years, and I finally got close to it.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, it's a structurally simple shot. It's just the bow, and you can. It just looks. This looks to me really neat. It really does. And the fact with the zoom, you can actually zoom in and look at the rope itself
Mm-hmm.
that goes up to the belt and see the detail in the rope. But
Now, I did take it from Photoshop back into Adobe Camera Raw, and I did bring out that texture a little bit, so maybe that helped, Dave.
it could have been, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna geek out on this one.
Okay.
This, folks watching or looking at the image on your phone, this is why you shoot Bayer RAW, and I'll tell you why. If you had taken this shot with, I'm gonna say with just like a JPEG or a hike, and maybe even Pro RAW, but I tested this kind of theory with my, I believe it was my 12 Pro Max, and or maybe it was my 8 Plus. I'd have to see if I could dig up the images and look at which phone I used. But because you shot in Bayer Raw, the where the sky meets the building, there's no halo
Mm-hmm.
around it because it's not trying to over process with the dynamic range type of thing.
Yep.
If you'd have shot this JPEG, you would probably see where the sky would actually get a little darker just before it connects with the building, and then almost get a little lighter right next to the building. And I'm talking like pixel peeping here, because it's trying to, when you shoot a JPEG with the iPhone, it's trying to use that smart HDR. Now, maybe smart HDR is better now than it used to be. Well, obviously, it will be, but sometimes you'll see that halo effect where the light meets the dark. What I did those however many years ago was there was a flagpole, and I shot one in Bear Raw and one in just JPEG or Pro Raw or whatever it was at the time. The Bear Raw looked like this with no artifacting, no haloing or whatever, and the JPEG, it had this effect. It was like night and day between these two pictures. If I ever dig them up, I'll put a post in the Facebook group to explain what I'm talking about. But when you shoot Bayer Raw, the sensor just picks up the data and that's it. It doesn't do anything else. You have to do it, and that's why I'm shooting more raw now. I think Dwight talked me into it a few weeks ago. I'm shooting more raw now, and going through the steps of processing it, just because it to me it just makes for better image quality. Now, if I'm just shooting, the dogs running around in the backyard, I'm not worried about shooting raw. I'll shoot just JPEG or hike or whatever. But if I'm shooting images that I want to, showcase the subject or the ability of the lens like this, then I'm shooting raw, just because it's so much better in my opinion.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Yeah.
so
And if I shot that in Pro Raw, all of the details there for me would have been gummy looking. We wouldn't have had. I wouldn't have been able to bring out the texture on that as well.
yeah,
So
yeah, that is so true. So my last one here, I'm flexing the 240 as well, and this was up a creek. I was up the creek without a paddle.
yeah.
This was when we first started getting snow again after Christmas. Like, we had a green Christmas here, and then after Christmas we started getting more snow. And this was the morning after, we probably got about, I don't know, 2 or 3 inches of snow or whatever. And I went up there's a little creek in our local park, and it comes out and it comes out underneath the swimming pool, and then underneath this road, and then down through the campground, and away it goes. And then eventually it goes into one of the main rivers. But this little creek, at the top of the frame, there's a waterfall, and it's only probably 7 or 8 feet high, and I deliberately cut the top off to leave that kind of a mystery as to how big the waterfall was. But I wanted to get enough of the bottom part in frame because there's little cascades like that all the way down. So there's a lot of opportunities for pictures like this. And I took this with the Reflex Pro camera app, just with the long exposure feature. This is not reheld or anything. I was tripod mounted, and this was 20 seconds. And so the nice thing about Reflex, and it produces a JPEG. It doesn't give you the the raw file, like the DNG file, like re-expose or even longer. Some of those apps do. It just, for the long exposure in the Reflex main camera app, it just gives you the JPEG. So this was the JPEG, and I just took it into Photomator and dialed the whites down or the brightness down a little bit to bring out the texture in the snow. And I believe I actually used a brush mask on the cascades of the waterfalls at the top and at the bottom to boost the clarity a little bit. And because I didn't want to do the whole image, I just used a brush mask to do it on those spots. And really, I don't think I did much else. I might have boosted the color just a little bit to bring the color out in the cedar tree at the top. Otherwise, it looked more black and whitish than it did at the color image. So, but yeah, that's pretty much all I did. And it's cropped. This one might be a 4:5 crop.
Yeah, it looks 4:5.
Yeah, yeah. So, and that's pretty much all I did.
Yeah, and like I say, I love the long exposure for the waterfall, and like I said, it's really hard to tell a lot of times how big the waterfall is.
Yeah, yeah.
If you could have told me it was, a 2 foot drop, or just a minor little drop in the back, or like you said, 7 or 8 feet, which it's not massive, but it's substantial. You don't want to fall down it.
Yeah.
Try and get that shot, but yeah, I just I love like I said, the snow with the water. It just especially like I said, the long exposure, getting that nice flow to the actual water itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Greg. I thought it was a black and white until you pointed out the tree and the
Yeah.
leaves up there. So yeah, that's super cool. I'm tempted to take this and do some dodging and burning on some of the highlights and shadows there. Maybe we can do that, offline with this magic mixer. I think we can have some fun with that just to show you it. But yeah, that's a cool shot, and I think the way you framed it is, you naturally want to know what's above the top, right? And I think Dave, you kind
Yeah.
of mentioned it. It could be 2 feet, but my inquiring mind wants to know how high that goes, and then where does the bottom part fall off. But it's a beautiful capture of the falls coming off there, and then the mist and stuff. Yeah, that's a really neat shot. And there's some detail in the snow, I think in the foreground at least. Yeah, really cool.
Yeah. Thanks. This also actually shows the compression that this lens gives you too, because that lower cascade is probably a good 30 yards away from the upper one.
Hmm. Wow.
There's a fair distance between this. Excuse me. There's a fair distance between those two, and that's the nice thing about this lens is it really produces a lot of compression in the image, from the foreground to the background, and that is something that I've been wanting to obtain with that lens is the compression and just to see how well it works. So
Is that a
yeah,
single
so
focal point there? Did you focus stack at all, or it looks like your focal point is the kind of the snow right in the foreground, maybe in the middle?
I think I focused right in that
That's what
center
I'm thinking.
area, just
Yeah.
below
Okay.
center. Yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
where I focused. So the focus range is pretty decent.
It is,
With that lens.
Mm-hmm.
especially on the macro. Wait till you get your macro lenses. It's the long range macros from Reflex and Moment. They it's more pinpoint focus. You'll see
Yeah,
you'll have a lot more area of focus. It's kind of fun.
yeah,
No, that's a
yeah.
good
I
one.
can't wait. Yeah. So that's our recent photos. I believe that's the last one. Yep. So there we go. Yeah. So I guess that's it for the audio version. And Dwight is wondering, would somebody tell me the score of the Rams Vikings game,
I,
please? So
I just
the
looked it up. The Rams are spanking them, and I didn't
Oh, yeah.
spell Vikings
Ooh.
correctly.
Wow.
The Vikings.
Yeah. So these guys are football fans. I'm not really. I'll check out the Super Bowl if it's maybe in the fourth quarter with 5 minutes left on the clock or something like that. But I generally don't watch football too much. A lot of guys at work do, but no, it's playoff time. And when is the Super Bowl?
February. I don't know the
Sometime, yeah,
exact date.
second week in February.
Yeah.
It's way out there.
Okay. Yeah. So it's interesting, but hockey, I'll watch that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, okay. Well, thank you for listening, audio listeners, and I'll put a link in the show notes for R&I Films and Film Simulator. As I edit this podcast, I'll probably hear more things that I might want to put in there. I'll put a link in for the reel that Reflex did at the hockey game to show what this lens can do at a sporting event. It's really interesting. Dave, thank you for digging that up for me and sending it.
Oh, cool.
And
Yeah, that is. I mean, honestly, if you would look at the video of the hockey players, you would not say that was an iPhone video.
I know, right?
It's
crazy.
just kind of crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. Will, stick around. For the YouTube audience, we're going to watch Dwight do an edit in Visco, so on the desktop. So
you guys ready to roll?
Stick around and check that out. So in the meantime, thanks for listening to the audio version. And if you want to see this edit, go to the YouTube channel. Once this video goes live or whatever on YouTube or it's done processing and whatnot, I'll put a link to this video in the show notes for the audio podcast. So if you want to see Dwight's edit or just see how janky our live version is, you can check it out and follow along on YouTube. And thanks everybody for listening.
Have a great one, everyone.
Have a good one. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and present here.
Okay, and you guys keep going. I just need to get up for half a second.
Yeah, no problem.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Ooh, here we go. And then, Greg, can you see that okay?
Yep.
Okay, so this is the Visco Studio desktop editing program. So I just brought in the photo that everybody saw this evening of the Mission Bell. And excuse me just a second. Now, what's nice about this program, and I'm not affiliated with Visco, to get this at $60 a year, I'm not 100% sure I'm going to keep doing it, but we'll see.
Well, that's what it cost me for Lightroom. If I want to subscribe to Lightroom, it's about 60, maybe $70 Canadian a year, something like that.
Okay, yeah. So essentially, I have I brought the photo in, and you can set it up to where it will work with Lightroom, so you can sync with Lightroom. So let me see here. Okay, so you've got some editing controls. I've already done all my editing, but if you wanted to adjust exposure, over here, a little bit of contrast or whatever, but I'm I'm going to just reset these right now. We're going to look at the films. Okay, so the difference between the desktop and the mobile app is the mobile app will give you some suggestions on what preset that might look the best for the photo. If you look through all the presets on the right, you can see that there's tons of them. So
Yeah.
it can be kind of overwhelming at first. But Greg, I mentioned they have the pro ones now here,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
which comes with the subscription. And then you can get down into the Agfa, the Fujis, the Filmex,
Does it have Fuji Reala?
I don't see it.
Probably not. It's not. I've never found it in a film sim app or anything.
But anyway,
Just, I was just
you've got a bunch of looks. So I can go
Yeah.
through here, and this is the Legacy Pro. Here's the A1 Pro. It all gives it kind of a film look. Classic black and white, moody. You see it added some grain.
Yeah.
There's a chromatic one.
Oh, that's cool.
You like that chromatic? Yeah.
The sky, the color of the sky, the teal looks
Yeah.
really neat.
And then like a high beam, M5, kind of a faded look. That's pretty SS1. That's pretty saturated. Let me see, Filmex. Greg, you're probably more familiar with these films than I am, but here's some of the Fuji ones. That looks pretty nice.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. We'll just pick one that we like, but I just wanted to kind of show everybody,
Wow.
some of the different ones. So you have all these Kodak films, right? Which one did you like, Greg? You like the
It was one
200?
of the Agfa, or was it Agfa or one of the Fuji ones with that teal-looking sky?
Well, no, the film you said it was a Kodak Gold
Oh,
200
Kodak Hectar.
Hector.
Ektar, that's this one here.
Yeah.
And then one of the reasons I asked earlier is, do you have an opacity? So you don't have to do it at full strength if you don't want. You can
That's
you can
nice.
kind of-
Yeah.
You can kind of bring it down, and you can kind of play with the character a little bit. I'm not sure what that's doing there. Then you can warm it up or cool it down. But you've got legacy, analog, artificial light. I mean, there's some interesting stuff here. Vibrant, classic, and I kind of like it because I'm working on a desktop, and that's kind of where my workflow is now. One complaint I do have, and I've been corresponding with them, is I'd really like for this to work as a Photoshop plugin, so I can
Oh, yeah.
bring a non-destructive layer back into Photoshop, and
Yeah.
maybe it's not a global edit. Maybe I just want to do it in certain parts of the image, or you got infrared, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. Well, I wonder if to make it a Photoshop plugin, if Adobe charges them for that.
Well, it could be. Well, that's kind of cool.
Oh yeah,
that.
Yeah.
because it almost gives you like a gold band look.
Yeah.
See, and you can walk down the. Let's see. It looks like it's not responding too well there, but landscapes, moodies. Well, I think it took one of the other ones that I put in, but we'll just kind of leave it there. Then I can come in here and, I must not have accepted it. Let's see. What was that one you liked, Greg? The
well, there was
Kodak.
one that had, there was Kodak Hectar, but the one that you come across there with the teal sky, that was really cool, but I don't know which one it was. It's something like that there, yeah. The Agfa, yeah, it was one of the Agfa films.
Yeah,
That's really cool.
Yeah. So let me see if that stays. Okay, it stays there. Now can I edit it? Yeah. So now I can play with the exposure a little bit, play with the contrast a little bit, and then I can get into the color saturation. If there's a skin tone, I can adjust the temperature, the tint, and then finally the grain. But yeah, I just wanted to show that as a desktop option. That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's cool.
really neat. And honestly, with that, the way the shot you have it there, where the color's a little faded,
Uh-huh.
and the gold, and like the brick is more of a tan.
Yep.
I can almost see a spaghetti western look to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, then I just added a little more grain, which makes it look kind of cool. And then you can adjust the grain size as well. You can make it really big if you want.
Yeah.
Because that's what we're trying to do, right? Give it kind of a vintage look. Actually, even the grain color. So anyway, that's not necessarily a full edit, but more of a kind of a demo.
It's a
of how
good
that works.
illustration of what's possible for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shane Mostyn's in the house. I don't know if he's been there all night or he just joined us, but he gave a score of the football game. That is a bit of an ass whooping.
Yes, that is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Well, good one, guys.
yeah.
Thanks for that demo too.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
And he said he just got there.
Okay.
So I'll send you guys a link to Glenn Dewis, and he had Brian Matias on, and they were talking about the mirrorless mobile kind of conversation, and it's almost an hour and a half, so you don't even have to watch it, you can just listen to it if you want.
I like both those guys.
Yeah, it's such a good conversation, and I missed it when it was on live, or I would have been on the chat room. I would have been just but it was really good. Great conversation between those guys. So I'll put a link in the show notes for the YouTube video, probably for the audio one too. What the hell? And but it was a really good conversation about the whole not the argument between mobile and traditional shooters, but it just I mean they even get into the lenses, and they talk about the 240 a little bit, and why they would use them or not use them, that type of thing. Yeah, for the master of hairstyles. Oh yeah, Shane, were you tripping over all the 20 tripods you have in your man cave to get to us? I could just see it.
He had that video. I'm like, how the heck is he going to get out of that office?
Yeah, I know.
Well, first,
right?
he's got to get past his beer fridge, and then he's got to walk through a jungle of.
And the problem with that is every
tripods.
time he goes to the beer fridge, he stops, he pulls one out, drinks it, and then when he does try to walk through those 20 tripods, it's just not going to be pretty.
And if he can make it through on the first pass, that means he hasn't drank enough, so he has to go back and get another one.
That's right. Oh, he says, what's going on with the hair? Well, I could part my hair on the side, or I could part it in the middle, or I could do with just whatever it decides to do sometimes. This is a rough comb out after 2 bouts with shoveling snow and wearing a hood and a big freaking winter hat. It kind of sometimes has a mind of its own, but it looks better, as Will Newcomb said, because I've got one less light on in my man cave here. I think I can get away with that. And so if I put it on, I look over. You don't think so?
No, I don't understand. I don't notice a big difference with your hair. It's more the side of your face where the light's hitting.
Yeah.
So it's not really affecting the hair that much.
No, maybe not.
No, it's also called Grecian formula.
Never used it. Never used it ever. Don't plan on. You know what? I can go white. I don't care, as long as it don't fall out.
Really? Yeah, I know something about that. Yeah.
I've gone pretty white myself.
Well, you are the
Let me see
oldest
if I can-
now. Dwight.
Yep. Yep. I am the oldest.
Got the bald spot up there.
But Shane said that's what happens when they close the rings, huh? So Shane, Scott Baker, and myself, and I don't think we've got Devo from these. These are all in the Bloody Legends admin in the in his Facebook group, and we have our own conversation on iMessage, and we throw everything in there. Like it's not just stuff about the Facebook group, and so we've all got Apple Watches. Devo just got his, and we share each other's rings, just like Dave and I do, and Dwight. If I'm gonna have to share mine with yours before too long here, but I'm notorious for not closing my rings.
I try to close them every day if I can.
Today I close. You know what? I'm gonna try to do a better job of it this year.
But you have to set it on more than one step per day and 1 minute of exercise, right?
Really?
Well, it depends.
Depends on how easy you want to make it.
Yeah. No, I forget what my numbers are, but it's not set. The worst thing with me is I can't close them every darn day because when I go to work, I can't wear my watch. Therefore, I get basically nothing on those days, and
We'll have to share. What the metrics are we're using.
Yeah.
well, you can see if you share your rings with somebody, they can see what they are.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you can see the percentage. Like mine, my move's 800, my exercise 30 minutes, and my stand is 12 hours.
Yeah.
And on days I go for a run, I go past that.
Oh yeah, your rings go flying right off your watch.
Oh yeah, yesterday was good. Today I'm not going to close my move ring.
Like I've closed all mine right now today because I've done snow twice. Let's see. So I'll give you my numbers. I don't care. Even on YouTube, I don't care. I got to put my other glasses on so I can see that close.
Do they have a workout setting of Shane and Dwight running from the cops? Because I think that Shane and I would be running from the cops if we hung out with each other.
Do you think? Okay, so I've got 250 calories on the move one. So I'll bump that up this year. I will.
250
My exercise
calories.
one, I got 15 minutes.
Oh,
and
what?
10 hours stand time.
15 minutes? How many miles can he do with that, Dave? That's 1 mile, right?
Well, you know what? The calories are kind of weird because that it's not really. And honestly, I don't like the step counter because when I run, I don't put a lot of steps in. Just because when you're running, you take longer steps.
Yeah, it's not walking. It's
So it doesn't. It's not as good. Like hold on. Let me see if I can get past. I don't want to get my summary. I don't want to do summary. I want to do my. This is an exciting podcast here for everyone, but.
And Shane says he knows when I mow my lawn. But I don't call it mowing my lawn because
there's not a setting for mowing the lawn.
Well, no, but I told him one time that I was mowing the lawn, and he says, "Well, you know what that could mean? It's something to do with fooling around with your neighbor's wife or something like that. I don't know." So now I call it decreasing the length of the millions of green things growing around my house.
But honestly, though, it would be nice to have exercise that is shoveling snow, mowing the lawn, or something like that.
I choose the something strength training.
Well, when I'm mowing the lawn, I do walking because I'm literally cutting your neighbor's grass mate.
Yeah.
But no, like I said, for the steps, like yesterday, where I had to park the car was almost a mile away from the start line. So I had to do a mile walk to the start line, did a 5-mile race, and then I had to walk a mile back from the start-finish line back down to the car.
Yeah.
So that was 18,000 steps yesterday. But it was like 8.87 miles, but a lot of that was just walking to the race, doing the race, and then being done with it.
Mhm.
Other than that, it's just walking around, day to day type stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm gonna put a valiant effort into doing a better job closing my rings this year. I know I'm not off to a great start, but the biggest thing with me is my damn shift work. I work 12-hour days, 12-hour nights. Days one week, nights the next, back to days, back to nights, and I've been doing it for over 40 years now, and it's starting to take its toll on my body.
Oh yeah,
And
shift work's horrible on you. It
you
is
know,
not. It's
so
not healthy.
when it comes to my days off, I think, oh, I should do some exercise, and I'm like, oh, I'm just too damn beat. And but I think once I get into a bit of a routine or something like that, I'll do better. Um, I got a stationary bike downstairs. I'm going to start using it, and because that counts, right?
Mm-hmm.
So why not? But anyway, well,
Body
thanks
weight
for.
exercises are good.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it'll help my knees. My knees are not the worst shape. There's guys that I work with that they're hobbling out of there after a 12-hour shift, and some of them are going to bound to get replacements and stuff like that. So I think I'm pretty. Whoops.
Shane, we can put them through your academy.
I forget what I was going to say now, but no, some of them are a lot worse than I am. So I'm pretty lucky that way. And hey, I get the most of my exercise jumping to the wrong conclusions. You yell at cutting your neighbor's grass. But anyway, well, thanks for the three people that hung around to watch us live here, and we really appreciate it. And I guess that'll be it for this evening, and we'll see everybody next time.
Good night, everyone.
Night, everybody.